Great. Thank you all for attending our Unlocking Revenue Within AP Payments webinar. I'm John Reese, Vice President of Sales and Business Partner Development. And today, a few housekeeping items before we get started today. We will be recording today's webinar, and you'll be able to play it back for a little bit of time, a day or two. Your phones have been muted for the webinar to provide the best experience for all attendees. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please go to the Got Questions section directly under the webinar screen, enter it in, and we'll be answering questions at the end of the webinar. In addition, we will be sending a follow-up of questions and answers to all the attendees today. So our agenda for today is we're going to overview CenterViews and view a short video. Then we'll turn over the webinar to our partner, Paul Rennerfield from Commerzbank, to talk about AP card payments and strategies moving forward in 2015. Paul's going to review kind of defining your payment strategy, current environment for payments, why AP card is growing and how it works, and also benefits for you and your vendors. And lastly, we'll have a Q&A. So next is we're going to view a short video on CenterViews Business Intelligence Suite.
Cash flow seems simple. Keep more cash coming in than going out. We know it's more complex than that. We provide a suite of solutions for receivables and payables that enhances your existing technology, providing you visibility into spend and inflow that will make managing your cash flow simpler. The CenterViews Business Intelligence Suite is cloud-based, mobile-enabled, and built to be simple, scalable, and secure so that you can be more productive while providing the means to grow and be successful. CenterViews Payable Solution automates the payables process to improve controls, to maximize cash flow, capture discounts, and eliminate duplicates. It gives you automated workflow, 100% invoice and associated support document visibility, PO matching, instant accrual reports, and vendor portals. The CenterViews Receivable Solution automates the receivables process to speed up cash application, simplify remittance processing, and resolve deduction issues to minimize AR dilution. It automatically matches and links orders, bill of ladings, remittance information, or other support documents to the invoice. It provides a comprehensive repository of all receivables information to aid in reducing DSO. The CenterViews Document Management Solution provides you with a secure centralized archive. You can access your information at any time and from anywhere. The CenterViews Suite is a comprehensive solution that automates and streamlines your back-office financial processes to increase cash flow and profitability.
Perfect. What is CenterViews? You may be asking yourself. What we've done is we've unified our accounts payable solution, receivables, and document management into a unified platform, and now that's being called CenterViews Business Intelligence Suite. You'll probably see a little bit of that branding changes throughout this year in 2015. So the next is today our focus is going to be on the payables process and specifically on payments. And we have an infographic that talks about capture, process, payment, remittance, and then archiving it. But today our main focus will be on payment strategies moving forward, from releasing payments to making the payments and linking those payments back into the system to provide the data for your approvers out there and also for those vendors to eliminate those where am I check calls. On the remittance side, we'll also talk a little bit about how the remittance goes out. With checks, it's easy. It goes out on the paper. It ends up. They understand it. With electronic payments, a little bit different. Typically, that remittance is going out via an email. And we also do have the ability to support and add additional documentation on the remittance if needed as well. And then the next part of it will be on the checks and what the environment is today and moving away from checks, the fraud risk and those, and why people are going to electronic payments. So, customers have been inquiring with us for the past few years about how do I get to more of electronic payments. They get some adoption, but not a ton of adoption. It's time consuming to try to get people to adopt electronic payments. It's costly endeavor. It's never usually at the top of their list. And then also the big question is, how do I store and get electronic payment information from my vendors? And so we're going to turn over to Paul from Commerzbank, and he's going to talk next about, what is AP card payments, how do the AP card payments work, and the value of AP card. Paul's been an experienced person, has over 20 years of experience in the payment and banking industry, and Paul's the VP of National Payment Manager for Commerzbank.
All right, great. Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Excited to take some time here to just talk about really kind of the industry trends of things moving towards a more electronic environment, and looking forward to sharing this information with you today. Really the goal of today is to help you understand ways that you can gain more control and do so while minimizing your risk and earn revenue share throughout the process. So, it's really more than just paying your bills to your vendors. It's really forming a payment strategy. We're going to talk about that here today. Commerzbank, just a little bit about who we are. We're actually celebrating our 150th year in business this year. So we've been around a long time. We're a strong bank with over 24 billion in total assets, but we've really focused on AP payments as kind of our core business line. Right now we rank 7th in the nation as it relates to Visa purchasing card and AP card. If you take the P card out of it, we're actually in the top 3. So definitely a leader in this space, and have over 250 individuals that are dedicated to supporting our clients and making the technology work. And that's really kind of the key difference. We're very high touch type of program, and again, just have that focus. Last year we did nearly 7 billion in total payments through our system. So we've got about 1,500 clients using different elements of our AP automation, and payments is a big one for us. We've been ranked in top 10 on Forbes the last 6 years. So again, just a little bit about who we are. We're headquartered out of Kansas City and St. Louis, Missouri, but offer this program coast to coast. I wanted to start out with a testimonial from one of our clients actually down in Kansas. This was a quote from a CFO. This company, Miller's Professional Imaging, has been with us for a few years, and they've actually grown their program, and the net total of the program has paid them $1.3 million. So this is real money to the bottom line. You can see the quote from the CFO here. Program's been very lucrative. They obviously get the impact to their bottom line with our monthly rebate and revenue share, but they also mentioned there's a lot of hidden savings. So when we talk about cutting checks and issuing checks, the time element of it, labor involved, cost of postage, things of that nature, it can be very time consuming. So allowing an automated process specifically with card payments can be a very profitable endeavor. Right now and today, and this is taken from a third-party study that was done, and the environment is interesting. Right now, from a percentage standpoint, 35% of us from a consumer standpoint are still writing checks. If you're like me, you rarely write a check, maybe for one of the kids' functions or something like that when you have to write a check. But for the most part, pay your bills online, and that's really kind of grown a lot over the last several years. In the B2B space, there's still 50% of all payments, including yours, that are probably being done via check. So that's really the opportunity of how to tackle those current check payments and convert them into an electronic form of payment. Estimates show that today it probably costs you anywhere from $5 to $25 to issue and pay a check. It really depends on the equation behind that math, of including the time savings or the time element and the cost related to all the moving parts of running your typical weekly check run. When you reduce that to an electronic form of payment, the estimates are anywhere from $1 to $2 savings in an electronic means. The U.S. right now is really behind the times in terms of the global payments. Our friends in Europe and overseas, everything is electronic. So we've got some catching up to do, and we think we have a great way to help you get there. So we talk about Vantage. It's really kind of our payment hub model, and it starts with step one, and that's the enrollment campaign. So Typically, we talk to clients, they've got a mix of payments being done. Majority are check, but you might have some card, some ACH, and some wire built in there as well. So the first thing that we do when we activate a program is we actually go through what we call an enrollment effort. So we've got folks that are customers or customer support at Commerzbank based in Kansas City. Their only job is to reach out to your vendors and really offer a survey, really an opt-in program of whether they're willing to accept card as a form of payment. And if they're not willing to accept card, what are they willing to accept in terms of electronic payment? Typically, we'll get through an entire client's vendor list within 30 days. That's our turnaround time for that to get decisions made. So we learned really early on with our clients that time is of the essence, and typically the folks within accounts payable don't have the time to do the type of outreach that we can do for them. We record all of our calls for quality control, so if there's ever a question as to whether a vendor accepted or not, we record those and archive those if we ever need to pull those back out of our archive. And this isn't just a one-time enrollment effort, which I think is key to point out. This is ongoing, and we track all of our changes. So I'll kind of talk about how we break that out. But if you think about it, if a vendor says yes for accepting card for one of your competitors, we'll track that and we'll ask them while they're on the phone if they're willing to accept for you as well. So by getting that one-to-many tracking, we found that we can get more throughput and more volume going through the system. We also offer a 1-800 number for vendors to call. So if they've got any questions, once they receive that email, they can call us. We found that by offering that, we actually took over 26,000 phone calls last year that our clients did not need to take. So again, our approach is all about offering that service and making your lives easier within the AP function. Again, we promote card as the preferred payment option, but it's an option. It's not required, and we find that that's the best approach to give options to your vendors. Step 2 in the process, once we have those vendors identified and we know what their preferred payment method is, that payment file can be sent from CenterViews. We're integrated with the CenterViews platform, so that payment instruction file can come right over to Commerce, or it can be generated directly from your financial system. So either way, we get a payment file. Within that file, there's information that we need to really act as a payment conduit on your behalf and go make payment. Things like invoice number, vendor name, amount, et cetera, things we need to make payments. So instead of you sending it over to your check writer or check printer, you redirect that file over to us, and then we go make payment. Commerce will execute payment via all means and all methods. So because we're a bank, our core business is making payments. So again, card, ACH, check, or wire, all payments are supported. So this, in essence, gives you, the buyer, a fully electronic payment program if you so choose. If you choose or elect to just do the card, that's fine as well. So we've got choices for you depending on what your goals and objectives are with the program. Fourth step in the process is if the client gets paid via check, obviously the remittance detail will be on the check stub. But if they elect and opt in for an electronic payment, they'll receive an email like you see here on the screen. This email will detail what they've been paid for, the invoice numbers and amounts, so that they can close out their cash application on the receivables side. We then go ahead and deliver those payments electronically, but we also offer reconciliation data back within CenterViews or within your reporting system itself. So this gives you kind of a glimpse of what that looks like. So as you can see here on the screen, you can see all the vendors that have been paid, and in the payment type column, you can track whether they were paid via AP card, ACH check, or wire. So again, you've got that visibility so that as vendors call you and ask, hey, where's my money? Why haven't I been paid? You'll have complete visibility within the CenterViews system. We also send out that email, as I showed before, that can be linked and tracked within the system as well. So again, we find that clients want that in a center repository, so they have one place to go. This data is also populated back to your ERP. So again, we gives you multiple options and touch points to get at that information. that really kind of rounds out the process side of it. I want to talk a little bit about how we create a strategy and what we do with the information. Typically, the starting point is we request a rolling 12-month spend file of the vendors that you're actively paying within the last 12 months. This is an example. Obviously, like I said earlier, there's going to be a mix of check payment, wire, and card. We really zero in on who you're paying via check because there's a higher probability of converting them to card if they're receiving paper checks, and there's benefits to them as well for doing that. As you can see, we kind of rank this. Our sweet spot in doing this for 10 years has been those vendors that you spend $20,000 or more within a 1-year period. And you can kind of see that we've got numbers and statistics that we put to that so that we know what our success rate has been. We've actually got over 600,000 vendors that we pay today, and we put them in categories. So we have auto acceptor vendors. So these are vendors that we've called so much on behalf of our clients that they've told us to quit calling them and to just notify them once we get another a buyer activated on the program. So that's a category in terms of auto acceptors. We also have frequent acceptors. These are folks that frequently accept. They're not all the time, but more than likely they will accept card as a form of payment. We also have conditional, which really means it's case by case. And we'll kind of talk you through that once we do an analysis and where they fit. But again, we really kind of put the math to this, whereas others out there may just give you kind of the typical Visa or MasterCard statistics. We take it a level further to really kind of create as much of a science as possible, but knowing that it is truly the vendor that decides to accept payment electronically. There are benefits to both sides. So a typical question we get is, why would I do this, right? And what's the impact to my vendor? The buyer benefits obviously are getting out of the check payment business. I think most folks realize that's a low value activity. It's kind of a means to an end, and you need to do it. But if you can reduce the amount of checks you write, you're obviously going to have savings related to operational costs. The revenue share is paid monthly, like I said. So, that's immediate benefit to your bottom line, and that's instant. Also, discount opportunities. If you're paying a vendor electronically, it gives you a better ability to manage those discount opportunities and become more strategic with your vendor. You can, really kind of time out when they're going to be paid, and the vendor can have reassurance that they will be paid on a specific date. You can improve your cash forecasting. So again, it's all about hanging on to your cash as long as possible and that balancing act between doing that, but also paying your vendor within your agreed upon terms. We don't affect your terms with your vendors. We pay as directed. Also, moving away to a more electronic process can help reduce the risk of fraud. Everyone's aware that check fraud is a big deal out there, and I think the bad guys are getting more and more creative as it relates to that. So the less you have out there related to checks, the better off you are from that perspective. Also, reducing or eliminating late payments, avoiding fees obviously is a big one. And one of our keys is that we're not requiring you to open up a new Commerzbank account or controlled disbursement account, so you can maintain your existing bank relationships, credit bank relationships. We even have folks that already pay via card, but we can highlight why Commerce can get more value for you and potentially talk about an ancillary program to whatever you have in place. So again, there's flexibility and options. From the vendor's point of view, again, they are reducing their AR cost and payment costs. It costs them to run a payment through a lockbox and process that check. So if they can get paid electronic, there's benefits to them for that. Flexibility of payment acceptance options. So again, we're not, pigeonholing them into one particular payment. There's a reason today that there's 4 different payment methods. So those still exist with our program. Improve cash flow. So again, they don't have to worry about a check clearing when it's available and can reduce their DSO as such. Improve security and then get preferred supplier status. So again, it's important to your supply chain, obviously, to keep your vendors happy and keep them in business. So if you can improve that, it's really kind of a win-win across the board.
Thank you, Paul. We appreciate everybody's time today. on the card payments webinar. And just kind of a quick recap of what Paul was talking about is this is a great program for our customers to understand, and why I wanted to bring it up to you is no IT resources, no vendor enrollment that you need to do. Our business partner can help do that for you. And it's just a way to get to more electronic payments much faster, reducing your costs and also bringing some revenue share back for you. So just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, please submit them now. Here are a few questions that we'll ask to Paul. How long does it take to activate a program like this, Paul?
Yeah, and that's a common question that we get. Typically, it takes on average 30 to 60 days to activate. So again, it takes our enrollment team about 30 days to decision your vendors. There's also, again, process of getting you set up on the system, getting some user access, things like that. But very minor, little IT resources involved, but very safe to say 30 to 60 days for activation.
The next question that came in was what type of IT resources are required? Is this a big programming that I need to do on our side, or what's the impact for IT? Sure.
And again, good question. We hear this a lot. Commerce is tied out with over 200 different ERP systems, so it's a very simple interface that we use. We are already integrated with CenterViews, so if you are using that system already today, there's literally no file that you need to create. It's job's already been done for you. But even if it does come directly from your ERP system, it's more of a mapping exercise versus an integration. So there's test files and things like that, but very straightforward, very simple, and we've done that by design to keep it easy. We know IT resources are not sitting around twiddling their thumbs, right? So we've made it easy to activate the program.
The next question is, what's the catch in moving people to the AP program?
And that again, I hear that a lot. Someone hears this message and they kind of say, okay, sounds too good to be true. It must be, right? I can't just receive monthly revenue share for this. And the fact is you can. And we've got clients like you saw on the second slide here today that have generated tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars with this program. And it's really just a matter of converting your current check run, which you probably did this week, and identifying which ones are willing to accept card as a form of payment and turning those on and activating them. So we do have a month-to-month agreement, so we also have flexibility there. There's no minimums or maximums to run through the program. So we can really start at the pace that you feel comfortable with and encourage you to look into that as a next step and do an analysis.
One last question for you, Paul. Does this affect our current banking relationships or treasury relationships with our current bank?
Yeah, and the answer to that is no. Like I said earlier, this is flexible in the fact that you do not have a requirement to open up a DDA or checking account with Commerzbank. You can fund this from any treasury account that you already have in place, and we're flexible to either pull that out of your account and set up a direct debit, or you can push us the funds via ACH or wire. So again, completely flexible as it relates to that side of things. So
thank you all for participating. We have several other questions that have come in, so what we'll do as a follow-up is put the questions and answers together, get that sent out to everybody that's attended today. Again, thank you, Paul, for joining us today and informing our customers on AP card payments. If you have any questions, feel free to contact myself directly, or Paul's contact information is in there as well. We appreciate everybody taking the time to attend today's card webinar. This is kind of the first in some educational series that you'll see throughout 2015. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.